evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being patient. We have an enormous crowd, which is thrilling to see this really wonderful movie, and we're so excited that you're here. I'm Susan Scoop, the Director of Programming for the Film Institute, and again, we're just beyond thrilled to have this film and the director, Antonio Piazza, come to speak to you later. So before I introduce Teresa Fiore, who put this all together, I just want to remind our School of Communication students that this is a colloquium, but you do need to sign out at the end. And I believe the Italian students also need to sign out at the end, so don't forget. And I'd also just like to remind everyone to turn off their phones and devices. And I would like to now introduce Professor Teresa Fiore for putting this all together.
Good evening, everybody, and it is my turn actually to thank Susan Skoog and Danny Shannon in particular, because this is the result of a collaboration. We are co-presenting the Inserra Chair in Italian and Italian American Studies in the School of Communication and Media, and we hope that this is the beginning of many other opportunities, and the fact that you've come so numerous is really promising in that respect. I'll be very brief. I just want to tell you that when I reached out to Antonio Piazza, I said, do you want to come to Montclair to present your film? And I knew this is not necessarily a place that is on the spot, but he said, actually I'm going to be in New York because the film is going to be released at the Quad. And so it was incredibly serendipitous, and he accepted to come, and we're very thrilled. Antonio Piazza is here. Representing also Fabio Grassadonia, co-writer and co-director of the film, and I will let him tell you a couple of words about the film, a film that has been embraced with incredible generosity and enthusiasm by the media in these days. Great reviews in the New York Times. It was chosen as a critic's pick as a result, so congratulations.
I'm really happy and honored to be here tonight. It's actually my first time ever in New Jersey. I know now that New Jersey exists. It's not it's not a fantasy, like. And yes. It was really a nice coincidence that Professor Fiore invited me and Fabio as well, but Fabio couldn't make it, to come exactly when the film had the opening in New York. It's our second feature film. It's a Sicilian movie, and we are Sicilian. It's based on a true story. A very painful event happened in Sicily in the 90s. For Fabio and me, it was, we didn't know each other in the 90s, but we both decided to go away from Sicily after the happened. It was a moment, a difficult moment for our place, for our island. It's the 80s and the 90s are the most violent and brutal and difficult period of our Sicilian history, and the story that to which Sicilian Ghost Story is inspired to is probably one of the most cruel and brutal story of that period. We went away also to escape, but this story was in our mind. And when we started telling stories, making movies, obviously we were thinking how to make it, because it's not easy. We didn't want to repeat that horror, to repeat that pain. We needed a personal angle, and we found it also through a short story we read, written by an Italian writer. I won't spoil, obviously, the content of the film, but we use fantasy to deal with a painful story. And I will be happy to talk about it after the movie. Thank you.
The Associazione dei Cavalieri, who have responded to the invitation. You've just seen a quite complex movie about a quite complex story, and inevitably the first question has to do with the genesis of the movie. Earlier on, you heard that this is based on a true story, but it's also based on its transposition into a short story called The White Knight, that provides a particular lens, a particular perspective to this cruel and brutal story. And so I wanted to ask Antonio to tell us about the relationship with the subject that both Fabio and Antonio have had. And I've been talking a lot with Antonio in these days. He reminded me of how beautiful it is to forget that time goes by. It's a very Sicilian thing not to look at the watch when you talk. He could tell you a lot about the story and the relationship to it, but let's give us the most essential elements.
Yes, now you know Giuseppe's story, Giuseppe Di Matteo's story. And what you see in the film related to Giuseppe, meaning his kidnapping, his period of imprisonment, his death, the way they got rid of his body. It's all very loyal to the real event. Even the location in terms of the places, the houses where he was kept as a prisoner are a reconstruction of the real places. Even this weird, uncanny place where he's killed, this strange elevator, is the perfect reconstruction of the place where he was killed. And why did they kidnap him? Because Giuseppe's father was a mafioso. And he had organized a very infamous slaughter, which we call it La Strage di Capaci. It was when the public prosecutor Giovanni Falcone was killed with his wife and with the police protecting them in the motorway between the airport of Palermo and Palermo. They put a bomb under the motorway and it exploded like an act of war. Giuseppe's father was involved in this, but then he decided to speak about it, and it was the first big collaboration about it, and he was revealing the name of the organizers, a very powerful mafia family from a village near Palermo called San Giuseppe Iali. And the main guy of this family, called Giovanni Brusca, who was Giuseppe's godfather, he knew Giuseppe from his birth. They were playing video games together. Decided to kidnap him in order to convince the father stopping the collaboration with the police. The father did not stop the collaboration, and Giuseppe's family decided to detach himself from the father, who was collaborating with the police. They were a mafia family, and they did not denounce the kidnapping to the police. It was never official. They only discovered it later. The school, Giuseppe's school, did not wonder, where is this guy? Where is this kid? What is happening? They did not question his absence from school. the entire village knew the truth and they did nothing. All the different villages where he was kept as a prison, they knew the truth and they were afraid and they did nothing. Police, it was a moment, a situation of war in that moment between the police, the public prosecutors, the Italian state, and mafia, the Sicilian mafia. And basically, the story of this kid was forgotten. There were more important things going on. So they were not looking for Giuseppe, who was easy to be found if only someone were looking for him. So basically, Giuseppe died forgotten. He was forgotten when he was during almost 3 years of imprisonment. And then he was strangled, and his body was dissolved in the acid, and they got rid of the remains. For us, was like the top of it was intolerable. And as I said at the beginning, in that moment, Fabio and I didn't know each other, but basically our main feeling was a feeling of rage, a feeling of we were disgusted. We were all thought to be indifferent because you had to pretend to live in a normal place, but nothing was really normal because there were too many people, hundreds of people killed only every year, only in the city of Palermo. And this kind of things going on. So we went away, we escaped, but we had the pain of this story in mind, and the pain was even growing when even his death was forgotten. Giuseppe was a forgotten child because his story was too uncomfortable for everybody in order to be remembered as it happened with other mafia victims. So, but we didn't know how to do it because we didn't have an angle to enter it. And then we read a short story written by an Italian writer called Marco Mancassola. And actually the short story is different because in the short story then the Luna, the girl, takes another direction. But there is this choice, crucial choice, of telling Giuseppe's story from the point of view of a schoolmate, a girl in love with him that is obsessed with his absence and his destiny. And for us it was, okay, this is the way, because we want the film to be an act of love for Giuseppe. We want to put ourselves in the mind of a girl who loves him, and a girl who doesn't accept to forget, who doesn't accept to close her eyes. And it was also a way for us to use elements which are very dear to our way of making movies, like dreams, nightmares, visions. Because Luna's story secretly is also sort of schizophrenia, because she's obsessed with Giuseppe while she has to continue her own life. And she recreates all the story. And for us, it was also a way somehow to see ourselves as it's a creative part in order to re-elaborate. And that was the start of everything, the creation of this movie.
And this takes me to the second question, because
let me give you a little bit of history about Fabio and Antonio as filmmakers and also as writers. I really want to stress that they are script writers and they're very invested on script writing, also to help the new generation and because they see it really as a core element of filmmaking. They started out with a short called Rita, which is available online, which is set in Sicily, and again it has elements of violence. Another element I will touch upon with my following question. The following one is Salvo, 2010, which is also set in Sicily, and 13, sorry. Rita was 2010. Salvo is also about organized crime, and it's set in Sicily. And then the movie that you have just seen. So my question is about the centrality of Sicily in your cinema, related to an issue that unfortunately is constantly associated with Sicily for reasons that we know, that are historical, but also very much produced by film over time. We had an interesting discussion about The Godfather this afternoon with the students. At the same time, your Sicily transcends this, and it's very much about the other side, which can be equally stereotyped, which is the landscape of Sicily. But in both cases, whether you look at organized crime or at the landscape of Sicily, you develop a language of your own. And I was wondering if you can tell us about this process, which in a way you've already described, the distance and the rethinking. But it's interesting to hear in particular what you're doing with both violence and the landscape.
Yes, Sicilian Ghost Story is indeed, we see it as a sort of final film about those years. For us, we won't go back there again. I feel we feel that we wanted to say about Sicily in the 90s and about mafia is already said. We won't have anything new to say about this in our future movies. But we needed to question Sicily and to question mafia because of what I told, because it was the place where we were kids in the 80s and in the 90s where this kind of story were going on. So we were talking with the students this afternoon about why one becomes a storyteller or a filmmaker. So to me is very much connected to this feeling of rage I was talking about, this feeling of sort of critical distance between me and the reality I had around me, and that I needed to express by telling stories. And it was necessary to go back to this wound. Mafia, it's inevitable because you can't, if you go back to the wound, you go back to you're living there, and you are a filmmaker, you are a Sicilian filmmaker, you have to deal with this, especially if our generation. In our movie is not the main subjects, meaning that the protagonists are actually survival, are people who resist. Luna is someone who decides to be different. Luna is someone who doesn't want to give for granted the rules of the parents, of the society, the rules of indifference, the rule of this sort of death law. So, and also in Salvo, in both film and even in Rita, the short film, there is a meeting a defining meeting between two human beings who recognize each other, who love each other. The meeting even happens in very violent or brutal circumstances or environment, but the meeting defines who they are. And who they are is basically they decide to stay human. And so yes, the mafia is there, but our focus is on how to stay human, how to survive, what to defend. And this was a way for us also to escape from the cliché, the stereotypes built. There are very dangerous stereotypes about Sicily and mafia. We were talking about it with the students. You run many risks. The first and most obvious risk is that you risk to romanticize bad guys, to turn them into epic figures. And we didn't want to do it. Basically, in our films, like here, the bad guys are very vile and even stupid people. Very not epic, very not romantic. There is nothing romantic in there. And there is stupidity to Giuseppe's story because they kidnapping him to make the father stop collaborating, but they didn't have a plan B. What if the father did not stop? They didn't have this in mind, which already this says how much stupid they were. And basically they didn't know what to do with this child. And for us it's important to catch this, let's call it banality of the evil. And it's there in our movies. And yes, so it's a way for us to escape also from the stereotypes. And Sicily for us is a universe to explore. You connect, even for Italians, I don't know the word Sicily, what kind of images you have in your mind. Even for Italia, Sicily is immediately connected to sea, to dry land, to yellow color, to certain images that we deny, because, for example, in Sicilian Ghost Story, which is entirely shot in Sicily, is we have the forest, we have lakes, we have the mountains, and they are Sicilian elements as much as the other. And it's a way for us to play with the images, the stereotype, the cliché.
Absolutely, and that's, I think, what adds so much to the film, that it's recognizable and yet takes you always into another direction. Another interesting conversation that was indeed about the victim, that as so much as you can romanticize and make epic the perpetrators of violence, you can also create heroes out of victims, but that's not what happens in the film. And I'm glad that you placed the emphasis on Luna and her capacity to resist, which is the element of the film that for me will remain particularly powerful. I was reading the review on NPR, and actually they wrote that Luna is in danger of extinction. And it means that your act is particularly necessary in telling the story of Luna, who resists. right? And also the perspective of the children or these young adolescents obviously speaks to the need to respond to silence, to indifference, and that's really your language. In Salvo, there's something similar, as a matter of fact, in the sense that, again, the violent person undergoes some kind of change, and yet the movie doesn't want to make him into a hero either, right? So it's the human component that becomes central. I would like to bring some attention indeed to what you've done with both Rita and Salvo, without spoiling the plot for you, but both movies have a blind woman in it. Clearly there's a fascination with the idea of not seeing and then being able to see or have a revelation. And this movie is also so much about seeing what is not, or seeing what is difficult to swallow. And film, by definition, is a way of seeing. I would like to hear more about how much you think about the idea of our eyes and what they do, given how much weight you give to imagination also.
Yes, in all films, sort of blindness and moral blindness is a crucial theme, also in Sicilian Ghost Story. I tell you a personal episode. I was a kid, I was 13 years old, and it was summer, it was July, so school was closed, and I was home. It was early in the morning, I was still sleeping. I remember that the house was, the weather was so hot that I was sleeping in the only room of the apartment where the air conditioned. So it was not my bed, it was a sofa. And it was the day we were supposed to go to the south of Sicily, to the seaside, for a vacation with my parents. There was an explosion. The explosion was so big that I found myself on the floor, and the windows were broken, and my body was covered by broken windows. And that was because the opposite building, they killed with a Fiat 500 full of explosives. A public prosecutor called Rocco Chinnici. It was actually the first time they were using a bomb to kill someone. And it was the period of the war in Lebanon. And Palermo was compared to Beirut. And actually what we had in front of us was a scene of war because of the bomb. And imagine this happening in a family. All the windows of our building were destroyed, and you see what kind of scene you have in front of us. We didn't talk about it. We were supposed to go to holiday, and we packed, and we went to holiday, without ever speaking about what happened. And that is what I define intentional blindness. It was a survival strategy, obviously. My parents are good, honest people, but it was their survival strategy. And so Fabio had similar experience in personal life. So this theme became again crucial for us. And all the idea of seeing and not seeing, especially in Rita and Salvo, is very crucial. Also in terms of staging, use of the camera. But I don't go deeper in this because they have not seen it.
Right. I just wanted to use more of the theme in particular because Luna sees much more. And in this case, it's actually a new moral compass for her, right? To reorient herself despite the split that she's experiencing. Moving a little bit away from this theme, which is obviously also very difficult, I wanted to talk a little bit about this film and in general, your cinema and Fabio's cinema, in terms of its texture. What I experience with your movies is something that encompasses many aspects, in particular cinematography and sound next to storytelling and script, where I can feel that a lot of time is devoted to the development of every detail. There's an incredible care given to all these aspects in order to have the final film that you desire. And you've worked with amazing cinematographers, Luca Bigazzi in this case, Daniele Cipri for Salvo. I'd like to hear more about the relationship that you build with people who contribute so fundamentally to a vision, which is so much about sound at the same time. In a way, we see sound in your movies.
Well, with Luca Bigazzi, the cinematographer, who is one of the best living cinematographers, is the cinematographer of the great Beauty Paolo Sorrentino movie, which won an Oscar a few years ago. It was very clear. Luca is a very intelligent person, is an intellectual. It was very clear that this fairy tale element that we wanted, and we agree on this. For example, there is this all the night scene in the movie. They're actually, how do you say in English, day in the night, the night in the day, something like this. La nuit américaine, they call the French. The American night. It's like in the old Western movies where you are shooting during the day, but in the scene is night. Because we wanted this touch of dreams, this touch of a time that doesn't exist, which is the time of Giuseppe and Luna. The sound is, talking again about blindness, is an important element in all our films. We really devote ourselves to the sound design of the film. In this case, also in collaboration with a musician, an Austrian musician called Sofensky. She is the author of the music and of two original songs of the film. The final one of the credit, which is called Italy, and the other one, when she's drawing, is on the wall, which is called Safe With Me. And because there is, if you don't see something, there is something that exists even if you don't see it. Or also, it's a way to evoke the invisible. And sound is obviously a very important tool in this, because sound is there, or even if you don't see it. So for us, it's always, we give as much importance to the sound as to the image.
Thank you, Antonio. We're going to open it up to the audience. If you have any comment, observation, or question, we have mics. They're going to be passed around.
I'd like to hear you say a little about what the mother represents. I mean, her, this the coldness, and what you're trying to say with that.
Yes, we needed to express Luna's loneliness. because the film is a fairy tale in a way, and there is a strong, intentional, emphatic division between the world of the adults and the world of the kids, where all the hope is in the kids' world. Because we wanted to express this idea of she's the resistant, while in a world which is the world of the adults, which is a world where they want her to be indifferent, they want her to look elsewhere. And so who are the adults in the film? Either the jailers, these horrible, brutal jailers of Giuseppe, or Luna's parents, which somehow are there, this gray area where you are not innocent, but you are not mafia, but also you are not innocent. And she's the mother is a witch, like in a fairy tale. They are both very intelligent women, with the difference that Luna decides to use her heart as well, while the mother has, I think, has lost it some time ago.
Is there any significance to the fact that she's not from Sicily?
Well, it comes from our studies of juvenile schizophrenia and the general idea of having always two separate places. One place is in the mind, one place is where you stay with your body, and one place is with the mind.
But how to emphasize the displacement?
Yes.
You use the term an awareness of moral blindness, and your experience in Sicily is.
Your experience in Sicily is obviously in a universe that was quite different from what we've experienced in probably most of our lives, in terms of the violence and the lack of lawful authority. You escaped that and then returned to Sicily to make films about that experience. This question is not so much pertaining to your film, but when you witness events in today's world, like a journalist being killed in an embassy or something like that, what is your perception of moral blindness that has entered into a higher level of legal authority, if you want to put it that way?
I see what you mean, and I agree. Yes, it's very much like this, and even in Sicily the situation has changed a lot, because after the end of the Cold War, after 1989, they started to arrest these people, and so this sense of impunity is lost now. It's a very different situation. It's not so much violent, but still the economical power is so much there, so overwhelming that you have always, and even more dangerous, because violence forces you to take a position sometimes, while the dangers of corruption and economical power is more sneaky. And there you can. I agree. It seems to me that there is nothing more I can say, but I'm not an optimistic in sense of society. I see what the hope I see is hope in it's very much about your personal responsibility, your personal choices. And I see hope for the specific human being, for hope when I say also about your soul, not about what happened to you in life, but about your moral life. There I can see hope. I can see space for change. For society, unfortunately, I'm not so optimistic.
We just need a lot of Luna.
Well, thank you very much. You've created a very powerful movie. I think it's something that we, as Americans, understand that there is a mafia, but you've taken it in different directions, especially violence against children. And I just wonder, how is this film being received in Sicily? Do they embrace it, or?
It was it was embraced, I must say, because people of our generation knew that this was a wound that we all had a debt with Giuseppe. And the younger generation, they didn't know the story. They discovered the story. And imagine that there was nothing dedicated to Giuseppe, while the streets of Palermo brings, unfortunately, the names of many victims of those years, but there was nothing dedicated to Giuseppe anywhere. And after the film in Italy was released in 2017, and in Sicily and in Palermo, there were a lot of screenings also for schools, morning screenings. So a lot of young people have discovered the story. And a few weeks ago, in Palermo, the mayor of Palermo dedicated a school to Giuseppe. And a school that now brings the name of Giuseppe, and we can say, for us it's a nice thing that all the kids and the parents at least will name it. And so yes, the film was embraced in Sicily, with some exception, obviously.
One more question.
Whatever happened to the father? Whatever happened to the father, the godfather, the mother?
They are all still alive. And the father is still living with a different identity somewhere in Italy, we don't know where. And Giuseppe's mother, they are separated. And Giuseppe's mother and Giuseppe's younger brother, because he had a brother, still live in the same village.
I think with this, we thank you for coming and for